I'm Will Ortner. This is Chargers Now, and today, Dane Brugler of The Athletic released his Beast. What the Beast is, it is a deep dive into all of the big-time prospects in the 2026 NFL Draft. Brugler does a fantastic job. He releases it every single year. If you're interested, you can get over to The Athletic and check it out. But today, we're going to go through some big draft targets for the Chargers and go through Brugler's big board and how some of these targets for the Chargers kind of end up and where they will sit. If you want to have more NFL draft content, make sure that you hit that sub button on today's video. We are rapidly approaching that 3,000 subscriber mark. In fact, we are just 20 subscribers away. Go on in, hit that subscribe button on today's video. Help us, one, get to 3,000 subscribers, but two, make sure that you are in the know for all the latest and greatest news around the Chargers going into this draft. We're just 15 days away. Number one player, Arvell Reese, number one edge rusher out of Ohio State. Shocker that he was 1-1 in the position, as well as being number 1-1 in this draft. He's not going to be there for the Chargers, so that's about as much time as we need to spend on him. Jeremiah Love, number two. He's also RB1, originally from Notre Dame. Now, when you talk about Jeremiah Love, you do have to kind of note that while he is one of the top players in this draft, I don't know if he ends up going at pick number 2. In fact, I bet you he probably goes a little bit later, closer to 10, just because of the position that he plays. Fernando Mendoza, he's the number one quarterback. He's going to go 1-1 to the Las Vegas Raiders. I feel pretty confident about that. We're going to get used to seeing a lot of him in LA playing against the Chargers. Sonny Styles, number one inside linebacker or off-ball linebacker out of Ohio State. Very interested to see what he does in his career. Number 5, and rounding out the top 5, Caleb Downs, number 1 safety, another Ohio State guy. 3 Ohio State guys in the top 5. Wow, they must have won the national title. Oh, they didn't? That's unfortunate. These guys are not going to fall, in my personal opinion. There is no world where the Chargers should even remotely think about getting any of these guys. Even Downs, who plays a position of safety that doesn't get as much love, and that's a position of need for the Chargers, I just don't see a world where we can even really consider talking about them as being a Los Angeles Charger. Mansour Delane is next, number 1 cornerback in this class. He's from LSU. Very fascinating player, good, strong, physical talent. Definitely someone that, unfortunately, for the Chargers will not be there at pick number 22. David Bailey, edge rusher. He's number 2 out of Texas Tech. Fascinating player, someone that I would love for him to fall to the Chargers. Probably not going to happen, unfortunately. Number 8, Spencer Fano. Now, this is kind of where the draft and this video really starts. He is someone who has been linked to potentially being there for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you that there is a world where he is guaranteed to be a Charger? No. But I also think that he's someone that Charger fans should get used to and definitely should get used to looking at. When I look at Fano, he is an unbelievable talent. Obviously, playing in the Big 12, that does mean you're not necessarily going up against the top-end talent like you would in the SEC and Big 10. But to sit here and say that the Big 12 is not a difficult league to play in would be wrong. Now, he is a tackle. Chargers don't need a tackle, at least right now. But there is a chance that if he does fall, you could potentially bounce him inside. Obviously, last year with the Alt and Slater injuries, it was a big deal for the Chargers, and it really hurt this franchise's offensive line. I think there's a world where as Spencer Fano falls, that general manager Joe Hortiz decides, hey, that's a guy that we need to have on this roster. Now, do I think he falls? Probably not, but I would not be shocked if we were talking about the Chargers and having a potential to go and get the number 1 tackle in this draft and moving him inside to guard, or potentially moving Slater into guard as well. Ruben Bain, he's going to be edge rusher number 3 out of Miami. He's not the Miami Hurricane edge rusher that I think could potentially end up in LA with the Chargers. Food for thought there. Number 10, Carnell Tate, number 1 wide receiver in this class out of Ohio State. Fascinating player there. Definitely someone to be interested in. He's not going to be there at pick number 22. Who should the Chargers draft at pick number 22? Let me know what your personal opinion is down below in the comment section. This is your ideal pick. Who's your dream scenario? Who's your dream player to end up with the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 11, Francis Maui Noah, second offensive tackle in this draft out of Miami. I don't believe that I see him being there with the Chargers. He's someone that has been very heavily linked to the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of love there for Maui Noah. Vega Ioane, number 12 player on Brugler's big board, number 1 guard out of Penn State. Obviously, someone that I have been a big proponent of the Chargers going out and getting. When we look at his entire scouting report, he's an incredible run blocker. Definitely the type of person who would do very well in a Jim Harbaugh type of system. He's big, physical, mean, probably doesn't eat chickens because they are a scared bird. Does a great job of moving very well, got good strength, very strong. Definitely someone who could improve his pass protection a little bit more, but at the same time, that's being incredibly nitpicky. Very high grades when it comes to PFF. In my opinion, if he's there at 22, the Chargers have to take it. There is no world where you can afford to go into next year with Cole Strange and Trevor Penning as your guards if Vega Ioane is there on the board when you have your first-round pick available. It would be malpractice by this front office to not take him if he's there. Mekhi Lemon is player number 13 on the big board, wide receiver number 2 out of USC. I definitely would look at the wide receiver position and potentially link them with the LA Chargers, because right now it doesn't feel like Quentin Johnston is going to get his fifth-year option with the team. And if he's not going to get his fifth-year option, that probably means the Chargers are looking at moving on from him. If they do, you need someone to replace him. Jermon McCoy, he's cornerback number 2 out of Tennessee. Player who probably would have been cornerback number 1, or at least would have had a good shot to be that had he not had his injury. Didn't end up playing this whole year. He's come back with a vengeance. Very solid player there. Keldric Faulk, edge rusher number 4 in this class out of Auburn. Definitely someone that the Chargers are going to kick the tires on. Definitely someone that I could see end up in LA. And the big reason is he plays a position of need. Odafe Oweh, he left the Chargers in free agency. You need to be able to go out and get his replacement. I do believe that Faulk would be a good option, someone who probably had a down year, definitely had a down year, according to his standards last year. He fits the bill, though, for this Chris O'Leary defense. He's going to be someone who can play the run just as well as the pass. He's an all-around edge rusher, and that is what the Chargers need and are going to want. This defense is built, designed around guys who are able to play the run just as well as they are able to play the pass. You do not want one-trick ponies in this type of defense. Hit that like button if you're excited for the season to start, and hit that like button if you're fired up for General Manager Joe Hortiz to go and attack this draft. About halfway through this video, number 16, Kenyon Sadiq, tight end number 1 out of Oregon. He did have a link or two to the Chargers. Don't really see that ending up happening, but tell you right now, as a Kenyon Sadiq truther, I would love for him to be in LA. Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle, number 3 in this class out of Georgia. I don't see him ending up in LA. Dylan Thieneman, number 18, safety, number 2 out of Oregon. I think there's a potential chance, very long shot, outside the box type of deal here. If he did end up at pick number 22, I could see a world where the Chargers go and get him. They've been linked to a couple different safeties, one that we haven't yet talked about. But I will say I do think Thieneman comes off the board a little bit sooner than 22. Kadyn Proctor at number 19, offensive tackle, number 4 in this class from Bama. Someone that has been linked to the Chargers. We've talked about him a couple times here on the channel. Incredible PFF grades, and the type of player that I would love to have potentially with this Chargers team, because I think you can get him to do a multitude of different things. He's big, strong, physical, athletic freak. Does a decent job on the outside as a tackle, but definitely has a little bit of a problem with some speed and could definitely struggle at times with guys who are really getting after the bull rush when it comes to Proctor. Now, there are a lot of NFL experts that are saying that he needs to move inside to guard. Definitely someone who I believe the upside is unlimited. He could come in, big, strong, physical kid. He goes to that left guard position. You now have a guy who is going to be a cornerstone piece for your offense. Look at what the Seahawks did last year with Gray Zabel. They brought in a guard, probably a little bit higher than most people would want to draft a guard. Well, he helped boost that offensive line from being one of the worst in the National Football League to being, at worst, average. In fact, probably a little bit above average. Well, the Chargers could do the same thing here with Proctor. Plus, he's the type of player to where if there is an injury at tackle, well, he's that first guy who bounces outside. Why not roll the dice, in my personal opinion, if Vega Ioane is not there? Jordan Tyson, we'll talk about him next, wide receiver number 3 from ASU. Keep your eyes on Tyson. He has been falling a little bit, according to most NFL draft experts, because of his injury history. Might not be a bad idea for him to end up with the Chargers. KC Concepcion, number 21 on Brugler's big board, wide receiver number 4 out of Texas A&M. Another guy who has been linked, at least rumored, to be interested in the Chargers and the Chargers to be interested in him. Very speedy wide receiver, had a lot of success over at A&M and NC State. Knows how to get into the end zone as well, plays on special teams. Fascinating player. Would definitely love to see him in LA with the Chargers. Now, this would be a signal that the Chargers are going to move on from Quentin Johnson and essentially send up a red flag. Hey, he's open for trade business. But I do see Concepcion at least getting the tires kicked when it comes from this Chargers front office. Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver number 5 out of Indiana. No real links with him and the Chargers, so we'll move on quickly to Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, player number 23 on this board, safety number 3 out of Toledo. Another guy who has been linked heavily to the Chargers. He has been mocked a couple of times as well. Fantastic tackler. Definitely someone who can come in and help this safety group get younger. When you look at Jefferson and Derwin James, obviously 2 really good players. Still a lot of room for them to have success in this Chargers defense, but you do have to get a little bit younger, and EMW is someone who can definitely come in and help the Chargers do that. Has great ball skills, while also being kind of that new age safety that isn't afraid to play in the box, and he can make some big plays for this team. Chris Johnson, cornerback number 3 out of San Diego State. Definitely someone that I think is going to have a lot of success in the National Football League, but I don't know that he ends up in LA. Caleb Lumu, next guy, offensive tackle number 5 out of Utah. Fascinating talent. Don't necessarily know that I see him being taken by the Chargers. Make sure that you share this video on social media. We really enjoy covering the team, and the best way to help our family grow here is by sharing this video on your socials. You give me a tag at Will Ortner. I'll make sure you get a shout out on a future show. Number 26, Denzel Boston, wide receiver 6 out of Washington. Fascinating talent. Don't see him ending up in LA. Avian Terrell, someone that has been falling in this draft. Cornerback number 4 out of Clemson. He's been dealing with some injury issues, and that is why he has been falling. I tell you what, his production on the field has been pretty darn impressive. The edge rusher that I think is a legit target for this Chargers team is Akheem Mesidor, and he's coming in at number 28, edge rusher number 5 out of Miami. I told you, I like what Mesidor brings to the table. Now, some of this is biased. I got to see him at the Cotton Bowl, went to the game. Very impressive. He was unblockable. And as good as Ruben Bain was, I thought Akheem Mesidor was equally as good. He plays the run just as well as he plays the pass, and I think he's an easy addition to this team and would completely end up replacing a guy by the name of Odafe Oweh. The more that I look at Mesidor, the more that I'm excited about him, and if he was just a little bit younger, I do believe that we would be talking about him in a much higher regard. He is almost, to a degree, hamstrung because of his age instead of his play on the field. When we compare him to Faulk, I'll tell you right now that I personally, if I'm looking at a player that I'm going to draft from a success standpoint, I want someone with the regular season stat numbers of Akheem Mesidor as opposed to Keldric Faulk. I believe that Mesidor is going to have a lot of success in the National Football League. Might it be cut short by a couple of years because he stayed in college football for longer? Yeah, who cares? This Chargers team is built to win now, and they want to go in and get a guy in the first round that can help this team win immediately. I also think there's a world potentially, depending on how that edge rushing class gets drafted, maybe you might be able to move back a couple of picks and still get Mesidor. Next, let's talk about player who is at number 29, and that, of course, is the offensive tackle out of Clemson, number 6 when it comes to tackles, Blake Miller. In my personal opinion, not going to end up in L.A. Last, we'll talk about Colton Hood, cornerback at number 5 out of Tennessee. Had a lot of success this season, played his way into being a first-round talent. Will he get taken in that first round? We're yet to find out. I want you to be honest right now in our comment section. Do you trust General Manager Joe Hortiz to make the correct pick at number 22? Scale your confidence right now for me in the comment section, 1 to 100. 100 being the most. Tell you right now, I think I'm at an 80%. I believe that Hortiz and Jim Harbaugh are going to be able to figure out someone that they want. The question will be, is it someone that they believe will have success in the long run? We've seen that Hortiz and Harbaugh have been able to find guys who do end up having success, but it's not always necessarily at the top end of drafts. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. You love the Chargers. You love the NFL draft. We're going to be covering both of those things all the way until the build up to the 2026 NFL draft, and we'll have a ton of content during that draft week that you do not want to miss out. Hit that sub button. Help us get to 3,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you bolt up.